for those with good taste.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? It's your boys from For Those With Good Taste. I'm Matt. He's Lenny.
Salutations.
And we've got everything for you. We've got trailers. We've got shows. We've got movies.
Video game. I think we have like a gaming thing maybe in here somewhere too.
Like, this is one of those where you've got to strap yourself in.
To the rocket ship.
Oh, yeah, because we're taking off, baby.
Oh, yeah.
But
Launching.
before we get
3,
into...
2, 1.
No, dude, you can't.
Off.
That's a premature launch, dude.
Oh.
Yeah, you can't have that.
I'm used to it.
But before we get into that, how was your weekend, man? Happy 4th of July.
I didn't really celebrate. I don't know. Did you?
I got to hang out with family. It was a good time.
That's a celebration.
Yeah,
dude.
absolutely.
Celebrate the family, dude. You see all the memes that have been going around?
Dude, I am all about memes? The Dominic Toretto memes. What's your favorite one?
You don't even
Ready?
understand them, dude, because you didn't see the movie.
I didn't see the movie, but I feel like I'm already seven and a half movies in.
Yeah, like family, bro.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of Dominic Toretto memes that have just really touched my soul. Like, you don't need gas when you've got family. Right?
Yeah, I like him being put into like different movies.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he was in like I saw like a John Wick crossover. I think I saw a Star Wars crossover. Like
I saw the you didn't watch Invincible, but there's a legendary scene in Invincible where the dad is beating up his son, and it's just Dominic Toretto saying, "I don't need to beat you up when I've got family," and it's like this is such an oxymoron because he's actually kicking the shit out of his family.
Yeah, I mean,
but it just lines up.
Family does solve all, man. Like I've got to drive to the movies on Thursday to see Black Widow, and I get out of work at 8, and the movie's at 8:20. So like, I'm gonna need family to get to work.
You're gonna have to put your faith in your ride, buddy.
Yeah.
Are you racing for the pink slip?
I have so my truck, dude, has I'm a truck guy. You see how I did that?
See what you did there, buddy.
my truck has like one of those things where you can shift gears. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah?
Like it's not a standard, but
dude,
like
so
was it
throw
it into like fake manual?
Was it like Fast 5, which I think was the movie where they had the most aggressive shifts of all time?
I mean, every movie, dude.
Dude,
like,
they're in Brazil. Vin Diesel's like, again. I'm like, dude, that's an automatic.
Well, that's how I'm gonna drive, dude. My first car, my first car was a Saturn station wagon. It was a 1994. I loved her. She had a button in the center console that said normal, and then when you flipped it, it said performance, and a little light turned on.
Get the hell out of here, dude.
Little light fucking turned on.
You had your own little red button, dude.
Man, I would flip that. I'd pull a Paul Walker. I'd be staring at the person in the car with me and be like, watch this.
Half the time they didn't even know what was happening.
I'd have to make sound effects after I hit
Listen, I'm a huge advocate for having different sounding horns because I think there's different situations, man. Like, not all situations for a horn are road rage. Maybe I'm just trying to get somebody's attention.
You know what else I'm an advocate for, Matt?
What's that?
Being able to rearrange the buttons on your controls on your steering wheel.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a big deal, right?
I had this moment today.
Okay.
All right. The thing on my left-hand side is where I control the skip forward, skip back,
music,
and up and down on volume.
Yep.
You know the way that they have it laid out? Volume up is to the right, volume down is to the left. Skip track forward is up and go back is down.
So is there a thing that you just push in and turn it?
It should be, because like, dude, does that make sense? You turn the volume up, right? So it should be up. You turn the volume down, so that should be down.
No, you're
I skip
preaching to
forward,
the choir, buddy.
So the button
goes
forward. It fucked me up today, dude, and I was like, "This is gonna cause more accidents than anybody should have to fucking go through."
Whoever's in charge of the design team over there, quit your job, dude.
Yeah, never mind. I was gonna say something.
Don't say that. Yeah, I know what you were gonna say.
The nice people of Toyota, keep doing it. You make quality vehicles.
But I mean, we've gone on quite a tangent here.
I have another one.
Okay,
I have another one, dude. This is on maybe a more serious note. I can never really keep it there for that long. Did you see? And you probably do. You might even know some people down there.
Sure.
The gateway that's been open to hell in the Gulf of Mexico.
Bro, the fact that they were trying to put the fire out with water.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
Think
about the fact, dude, that it's so hot that it got from the base of the ocean up to the water.
Dude, it is a vortex of fire inside of the ocean.
It's basically lava, no? Like, at this point, if it's that hot and it's in water, it feels like it's got to be, dude, like...
I'm no scientist.
Magma.
Why can't I talk today?
Magma.
Hot magma.
Yeah.
Magma. That's a shout out to Dr. Evil right there. My thing is who's the genius who goes, all right, we're going to spray water cannons at it? No, I don't think water's gonna solve this, man.
Well, I disagree because have you not seen the 1997 classic Volcano featuring Tommy Lee Jones?
I have not.
All right, well, I'll quickly synopsize the
synopsize.
end of it. Oddly enough, came out at the same exact time as Dante's Peak, just two different movies that are about volcanoes.
That about the
going
same
off.
thing. Okay.
It's similar to when White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen came out on the same weekend.
Deep
Either way-
Impact and Armageddon.
Yes,
Boom.
exactly. So the molten lava's coming, Matt, and they set up Jersey barriers, and then they have all the fire trucks line up, and they've got to shoot down on the so it can happen. I'm pretty sure you can put out fires in water like that, like lava.
Just because it happens in Hollywood, I mean, in Hollywood they say we landed on the moon. Doesn't mean I have to believe it.
So either way, I didn't want this to go into a jokey thing. It's kind of fucked up, right? So I don't know if you had read that and read about this, and I don't know if anybody else listening has like heard about this, but did you read? It was about a month and a half ago. It was in May. A boat in Sri Lanka sank, or it like crashed. It something happened.
Yeah,
and it didn't capsize, but
it.
basically it lit on fire, and it burned in the middle of the ocean for like 2 to 3 weeks before it submerged. Like it had to wait till it sank. It was a big ocean liner.
That sounds crazy.
And it literally burned for that 2 to 3 weeks. Now it's sunk under the ocean, and they're worried about the 150 gallons of oil that might come out. It hasn't yet, so they're like, okay, we're good for the moment, but they're worried that's going to come out.
Time bomb
right
at this point.
In addition, it dropped all these little plastic pellets. They're called like nurgles or nurbles or something like that.
You better be careful with that.
Yeah. And so it drops all these little pellets into the ocean now, and they've found like 40 to 50 animals have washed up, like giant sea turtles that are already going extinct in the area, dolphins, small fish, and they're washing up with these pellets in their fucking gills and their lungs. And it's just, my point being this, it's like, dude, I see that a month and a half ago, and it's like, wow, that's awful, and it kind of got me in my feelings for a few minutes, like a month and a half ago, man. And then this happens, and I'm like, dude, like at what point? It's almost like it's out of sight, out of mind. Because at what point do we as people like start looking at the fact that we don't give a fuck what we put in the water?
But like, not even just the water, man. Like our planet is trying to tell us something's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
exactly, dude.
So
like,
think about like this time last year, or maybe even a little over a year ago, we had the fires in Australia, where an entire continent is engulfed in flames. Yeah. To the point where people have to live out on a beach and camp out in order to kind of be safe. But we still don't really think about it when we're littering. I saw a meme the other day that said WALL-E came out 13 years ago and you pieces of shits are still littering. It's amazing how true it makes you feel when you say it gets you in your feelings. It sucks, man, because you kind of feel responsible in a way, but you're not responsible, right? Like this.
All you can do is do your own part at this point. And like I say that, but of course, like there's people who are gonna be like who can go out and be activists, and I suppose any of us could really do that. But it's like there is a certain level of like dedication and effort, and a level of there's a level of gratification, but there's not a level of financial stability that I think comes along with being an activist either. But either way. I think about like you're talking about like global warming, right? Like think about just how hot that is now, right? Where that is, and like not that it affects the world, but like how it offsets the ecosystem around there, because that water is like uninhabitable to a point right now.
Like
you're
that
talking
is
about clearly uninhabitable, but like how far around that are you not able to go to?
You have to wonder what it's doing. Like we can see it on the surface level, but we have no idea what's actually going on underneath at those depths. Yeah. So it really does ask the question, like what can be done to stop something like that? Like I was laughing earlier because I'm like, water cannons don't really seem like the idea. Yeah. But you're right, man. Entire ecosystems of wildlife who have to use, whether it's the ground floor, whether it's the middle of the ocean, that's all something that can't be used now at this point. Mm-hmm. If you talk about that ocean liner where it sinks, that's a ticking time bomb for wildlife to just be completely eviscerated at that point.
It's like we all need to like end up in the happening. Yeah, in that fucking movie, yikes. Where like nature, the flowers have to like fight back.
Yeah, man, I'm not getting anywhere near a lawnmower. That's all I'm saying.
Or a skyscraper,
or a skyscraper,
a park garage, whatever that was. Yeah, no, it's like we need like nature to fight back in order for us to take it seriously.
Crazy segue, but it's almost like we've been experiencing small little apocalypses. Right, where little things are happening.
That's a good point.
This ocean tornado of fire, the fires that happen in Australia, the sinkholes that are happening just about everywhere. Have you
We're
seen
probably
those?
about no, I haven't seen that.
Oh man,
we're probably about a month away from like forest fires in fucking California too. I mean, that's any year.
Yeah,
right?
like that's any year, right? But we still don't really heed the warnings.
Yeah.
So when you talk about like apocalyptic events, again, weird transition. I was just thinking about like that last Loki episode 3. You guys are probably going to be on episode. Yeah,
you'll be on episode
4. You'll be on episode 5 by the time we talk about this.
Yeah.
Where they're in those scenarios where like that's a complete apocalyptic event, right? Where a moon is crashing in on your planet, nothing you can do. This seems like it's a little bit smaller scale, but dude, what the hell happens when that expands? What happens when that oil rig does completely blow and our ecosystem's thrown completely into whack?
Well, sadly, in our universe, we don't have like this agency that can pop up and be like, this is an anomaly and like rewipe.
I want to give you your flowers, dude. You called it. You're like, are they just going to pop up at the last second? Boy, did they.
Yeah, like, well, it's the only way they were going to get out of that,
oh,
right?
Yeah.
It is interesting. We're officially moving on to Loki episode 4 now. How many spoilers do we do in this? I feel like every week we go through this. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't discuss this with you last week. On my way home, dude, I was like, you know what, man? We're getting this out a week late.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't caught up, that's cool. We'll always do the 3, 2, 1 countdown, but I think we do owe it to ourselves and to anybody who's listening to fill them in and give them our take. So I think we are going to, in 3, 2, 1,
spoil the shit out of this.
We're getting right into it.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
The merge, like they create basically another anomaly on that planet,
seismic event.
Yes. And what do you think of like it's because they formed like a bond that was never supposed to be there?
Yes.
Creating it.
Man, you want to talk about calling it? Them having this I don't even know what you would call it, a relationship, a feeling of coming together.
Yeah.
They call it the biggest narcissistic event, right? Because it's like, dude, you fell for yourself.
Which you had said last week, like, how do you
That's
fuck
a little
yourself?
taboo, right?
They're going to end up
masturbating. Yeah, that's really weird because there's 2 individuals, but it's like a circle jerk of sorts. But when I saw
like
that,
jerking off in the mirror, but seeing yourself as a girl.
No, dude, because somebody else is definitely in the room. Like this is why this event is so seismic and chaotic.
But like, okay, you know, in Harry Potter, there's like the mirror that you go to and you can see his parents.
That's weird, dude. Why would you bring up his parents? That is the weird thing to do. That's just as taboo as fucking yourself.
Sure.
Because
I'm
at
not
this
saying
point,
he's fucking his parents.
No, I get
or
that. Or
watching them masturbate.
But
that'd be weird.
You insinuated.
Yeah.
I think it's not like that at all. I think, you know, them having this relationship in this moment where it actually did show maybe how powerful they could be together. Maybe, you know, their 2 personalities and 2, you know, capabilities coming together created this crazy influx of time. But it keeps begging the question, like, what was it? Right? Because right before we're about to find out if he's going to make his move, oddly timid, Loki. No,
I get it though.
I feel like this dude would be a player.
Because he knows it's a little taboo. It's like, what if she thinks I'm fucking weird? Like, because where's the rule here? Is it like, because like they say like, what is it? Second cousins is supposed to be like legal, right? I think that's what they say, right? The South.
Who's they?
The South, the Arkansasians.
The Arkansasians. No, dude, I don't have a dog in this fight.
They claim the second cousins are good.
I don't know, man.
No,
like
okay.
Second cousins,
I thought
third
there was
cousins.
An official ruling on that.
I don't know. We're gonna have to look at subsector B, because I'm not really sure.
I'm gonna look up Mississippi state law.
Yeah, you can do it on your own computer because I don't want that juju on my on my computer.
I don't know. Like I think there's worse things you've probably looked up.
Well, yeah, there definitely is. But if we're circling back around, because I don't want the focus to be on me and my perversions, dude, it without a hitch, man, they fall for each other and it creates the ability for them to get found.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
Well, I mean,
like they were able to pinpoint this exact area.
Well, they spend all their time looking for anomalies, and to your point, it is the biggest, most narcissistic moment of all time. So I do
set the bar really.
While it's a taboo, weird relationship on paper, they do have a good chemistry between them.
Dude.
You know,
I ship it.
Yeah, like what would is their like couple name just Loki?
No,
or is it
Soki?
Oh, like
ooh,
Soki.
Let me get a Soki.
Or Lovi.
Oh, Lovi's right there, dude. But nailed it on both sides.
Let us know which one's better.
Yeah, hit us in the comments.
So I like that. That's a dream couple. That's couple goals. I think they're there.
Yeah, man, I ship it.
We immediately step back into the TVA. I can never remember.
The TVA. No, you got it.
So we step right back into the TVA. I love, again, what this episode brings back the Owen Wilson character of Mobius. I love the interactions we get between him and Loki.
Yeah.
I think in general, I've just learned I love Owen Wilson.
No, man, like, he I've been waiting for him to kind of drop the ball on this.
Yeah.
And it's because I do love him, right? But it's like I don't want my unbiased opinion to kind of overshadow his performance. So I've been waiting, like, he's going to make a mistake. And, man, he has nailed it on every possible front.
It's both. He's great. I think there is some credit to picking the right character for your roles and casting really well. And it's like,
big time. It's
almost like they wrote this role and saw him in it when they were writing it to an extent. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the way he plays it. Because even when I was getting frustrated with him when you're like, dude, like, you're such a likable guy. How do you not believe him when he's telling you the truth? Like, and those are the emotions they're trying to. But
it was so realistic because he wanted to believe it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and you get it because like Loki comes back and he says, the TVA's lying to you.
Yep.
And again, Mobius is just like that. You're playing a game. You're trying to.
You're the worst god of mischief ever. Yeah. Basically, like,
and it's just kind of a dick to him. And you're like, dude, like, realistically, what do you, aside from it being your job, what are you being a dick to him for? Because he really didn't do it. It's like he ran away with her, but at the same time, he had to follow. Like, somebody had to follow her, right? Like, if you want to catch her and you trust him, he's doing the right thing.
Listen, man, I treated Mobius and Loki's relationship like a new couple, right? And they quickly got kicked out of the honeymoon phase. And when you're in a relationship, whether it's with a friend or with a wife, a girlfriend, there's times where, like, you're not hanging out with them and you just had an argument and you're like, that bitch, like, what else is she doing? Like, you just start going down this weird wormhole or rabbit hole, and it's like, before you know it, you've created this weird illusion for yourself. So for him, Loki walking through that door was a huge slap in the face and an act of betrayal, and he had to try and make reason or make sense of it all. And at this point, they get this anomaly, and he has no idea what it is. He has to wonder, like, who's behind it and how much of a relationship they've had if he was just so willing to betray him. It does give you a weird look, and it also gives you, like, this jealous feel because he puts him in timeout, essentially. Yeah. And makes him get kicked in the nuts. What do you think? Like a million times?
There's a big portion that we didn't see him getting kicked in the nuts that he probably was
that
getting.
You knew he was getting kicked in the nuts.
I liked it. Like, it sucked because even when he figures out how to, like, not get kicked in the nuts anymore, it's like you just have to keep giving that same speech over and over again to avoid getting. And then it sucks too.
That's a proverbial kick in the nuts.
Yeah,
right?
like nobody wants to do that. So it's like it really is a perfect way to break somebody. And if, like, the U.S. government ever figures out how to do it, we're fucked. Yeah.
That's like. That takes waterboarding to, like, a whole new level.
Yeah, it's like just let me out of this awful. Like, they just make you relive the worst memories of your life.
Do you think now he's like one of those guys on YouTube? Like, he can just take a nut shot and it just won't affect him?
That'd be a good, like, party trick. Like, just fucking punch me in the balls.
He's already the god of mischief and a magician. Like, just add that to the repertoire.
So one thing I found that, like, this episode, I liked the last episode had a lot of action, right? And it was visually really impressive. I think I like this episode more because I think I found that I enjoy just the character work in this series a bit more. And I found myself thinking it lent to my, like, a little bit more to what WandaVision did to make me like it so much. Is it's like an onion, Matt. It has layers,
has
right?
A lot of layers.
Has a ton of fucking layers.
Man, I've been waiting for us to get a Shrek reference in here.
And so with it being layers, it's like the first episode, you're like, this is the TVA, right? This is the characters. These are the people. You're told that they're good. And maybe you're left with some questions because you're just always meant to be skeptical. But, like, you're, for the most part, Loki's done something wrong. His character at this point is a villain, right? Because it isn't the person we know from Endgame.
He hasn't progressed.
So he's a villain. So he's supposed to be the bad guy. I know this. I know TVA, good. Owen Wilson is a character from other movies that I've liked, and he's supposed to be good.
He's a good guy.
And slowly you meet the other Loki, and she starts giving you little bits of, like, well, maybe I'm not the bad guy. And you get this other layer, right? It's her layer. And now we're in that next layer underneath it where all the cards are starting to get kind of put on the table in this episode. And you're finding out, like everybody's agenda. And it's driven a lot by Mobius finally becoming, like, slightly skeptical because he gets the, like, little nugget put into his head by Loki of like something might be wrong here, and then he gets
the game of whispers, basically. Yeah.
And he gets it confirmed when he goes. I forgive me, I don't remember her name, but the
Ravanna.
So he goes to her office. They're having a celebratory drink, and he just starts picking up on some things that don't really make sense.
Yeah, when you talk about it being an onion with many layers, right? There's sub layers to it, right? Because there's B-15, Hunter B-15. She was basically like the head security or agent who had her back and forths with Loki, right? She was the one who apprehended him. Mm-hmm. She was the first one that we kind of got to meet the woman Loki, or Sylvie at this point.
Yeah.
So her mind kind of being messed with in the background, she was trying to figure things out too, because she was remembering things. And she's like, Mobius, what's up with, like, do you really think like the TVA is lying to us? And it just kind of unravels by the thread, right? If you're pulling at the thread, it continues to unravel, and you see Mobius start questioning Rovana, right? He starts questioning her. He starts digging a little bit more into what Loki said. And
but was she questioning him in a way, like, too, because she asked that question, right?
She didn't think she could trust him.
Yeah, like there was already like because and you come to find out it's because she's already watched another person have their memories exposed.
Yeah.
By the Loki combination here. Yep. So I think she's already skeptical probably of everybody.
Yep. Big time.
And one thing I wish you knew more about is why is she so loyal to a T? Because you don't know who the timekeepers are, right? Yeah. You don't know the level of her relationship to them, to why she just blindly follow, like she's been brainwashed, I suppose, is what you're just supposed to minimally believe, right?
Yeah, we're all supposed to be under the impression that everybody who works for the TVA has had their mind wiped.
But it's like, but I guess I just say that, like, I would have liked to have seen a little more depth in that relationship there, what her relationship is to the higher ups, because, these other characters have been brainwashed too, but through logic have been kind of broken in a way. Well, you find out the security guard gets broken because she had a memory put into her head too.
Yep.
But, Mobius, I guess, was already skeptical in a way before Loki ever got there, but he was able to see through it. So you wonder, at the point where we're like skipping forward a little bit now, you get to the scene where they're in this with the timekeepers, right?
Yeah.
And I just it's tough because she so blindly follows, and like
it's weird because, and it's not to cut you off, but the initial start, like the start of the episode, they give you some backstory as to how Sylvie and this girl have a history together, Ravanna, how they have a history together, but then she just goes in to see the timekeepers, and we don't really know anything, right? Like, we don't really understand why she's so blind to trust them. And it almost felt like they were trying to give you that scene to justify everything. Like that answers all the questions.
I'm in front of the Almighty, but it's like, how would you not find out that like they were robots, first of all, right? Like, that act that they were putting on, I feel like would get kind of thin at some point.
Yeah. It's just really, it was weird.
But further, it's just like you killed your best, like what seemed to be a love interest / best friend, right? In Mobius, like you wipe him.
You prune him.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You get, and then you even, like, without question, I mean, the Loki one makes more sense, but it's just like, she was just very aggressive and blindly following something that I feel like at that point you would have had reason to be skeptical. First of all, Mobius, this person you have a deep relationship with, is questioning it. Yeah. Then you've seen what she's done, the interrogation of that other one that they pruned, right?
Yeah, the big thing that I ask myself is they keep hinting to this other agent, right? There's somebody other than Mobius that's doing her work for her. We still don't know who that person is.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was a weird kind of little tidbit that was added there. And then we get the Mobius prune, the Loki prune, the prune of the original agent who had her mind wiped. All of this is so quick, it does beg the question of, there has to be another place. At least for me. I was like, this can't be the end. The pruning can't be the end.
Well, I'm just starting to and I'm hoping we get the answers, obviously. Like, how did the TVA, who is pulling this overall, like, ruse,
shtick,
right?
Yeah.
Like, because who was powerful? Like, you would have had to set this up a long time ago, I'd assume, or it's been recent, but it's another one of those things similar to WandaVision, where this power is so strong that people can build entire illusions. Wanda built a whole town to meet her needs, right? And what her vision was, no pun intended.
Wow, that was smooth. I like what you did there. It really does. It's a little confusing, man, because now we see these 3 robots get their heads chopped off, basically. We see the pruning in the episode.
We see one.
One, I'm sorry. Yeah, we see one of them get his head chopped off, but the other one's kind of like malfunction. They stopped working.
Yeah.
This whole thing kind of just came to an abrupt halt.
So you're gonna find out in the next 2 episodes, I presume, who Raven is. Is that who her name is? Right?
Ravonna.
Yeah.
No, I like where your head's at.
Ravonna, like I assume you're going to find out that she probably does maybe have a bigger relationship than what we know with maybe the actual. Maybe she does know that they're robots. Maybe she does know that they're not the actual timekeepers.
Yeah, that would make a lot more sense, at least for me.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So let's just close out on obviously the biggest thing of this episode.
Yeah.
It's Loki gets pruned.
Yep.
Were you shocked?
That whole moment that was building up, I knew that Ravonna wasn't dealt with. So I was like, something's going to happen. One of them's going to get pruned.
But I think you could have seen them. I would have just as easily seen them have her run away. Because she's outnumbered in that regard.
Sure, but
instead she goes like the gangster way.
And she's like, F your happy ending.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about your happy ending. To me, I just felt like we were deprived of that moment to see if Loki was actually going to make the move.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that was all I could...
Matt, like speaking from like being a professional rom-com watcher, this is just going to make the moment so much sweeter.
Yeah, but the tension is so thick.
Yeah.
Like it's really
thick. Do you think they'll
thick.
become one when they make out?
Is it weird that I'm this interested in seeing them two get it on?
You know, you probably watch videos like this all the time.
Incest? No, not that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it is the most watched category, I think, on Pornhub.
Why is it? It's because it finds its way into everything. Like you can type in
all of your favorite porn stars just have to make like step sibling porn. It's like the saddest thing in the world.
Yeah,
I think that's a cause that we should all get behind, is ending the step sibling porn era.
How about just the
we all can like become a one here, like a team, and take down the step sibling porn industry. Anywho,
and are we replacing it with
whatever we
narcissistic
want?
masturbation?
Maybe we replace it with like cosplay porn, like where they dress as Lokis. Because
it ends with.
Did you stick around? Like I normally, Matt, I don't stick around through
it was a happy accident because I was actually I was picking stuff up. Got a kid at home. She's always making a mess. I was picking stuff up during the credits and I couldn't find the remote. And I was like, cutscene. No need to change. No need to change it.
Yeah.
And it goes straight to the cutscene. I was like, this is what we're doing. Huh?
So we get Loki somewhere else.
Yeah, he's somewhere else. And we get introduced to Kid Loki, Lizard Loki, Old Loki, and dare I say Black Loki.
I didn't know the names of any of them, so thank you for informing me.
I don't think that's official.
Okay. Okay. Well, you had me. So I have another question. Does that mean that everybody who's been pruned is just in some weird... Well, although they do say to them, like, come with us or you're going to die. Like,
I thought you were going to say, is everybody who gets pruned become a Loki?
That's funny, too. You see Owen Wilson as a Loki?
Wow. Have you noticed that he also says, how? And it sounds the same. I'm a mess. Give me more Owen Wilson. So I was just happy to find out that pruning doesn't mean you're dead.
At least in Loki's case. Maybe it's only Lokis that live through being pruned.
Gods?
That
would make more sense, right?
Or just Loki.
So Lenny, recently you've been talking a lot about kicking my ass in a phone booth.
Yeah, I mean, well, like factually just stating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would happen.
Yeah, and it took a lot of time for me to just think about it and realize how ridiculous the entire conversation was.
Well, did you realize it was ridiculous how triggered you were by the conversation?
I don't think I was triggered. I was more so upset at the fact that you would have to have no arms in order for me to have a chance.
The D1 really hurt your feelings.
I want him to know that I'm coming for his ass.
Yeah.
That's
You're
just
coming
all,
in his ass?
I'm coming in his ass. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
No lube. I'm in there, no glove. But the reason why I bring up the phone booth conversation...
Well, and just to be clear, like for anybody else who wants to be included in this conversation, I told Matt that if we were to ever be in a phone booth in London,
because
I would
there's rather large
fucking destroy him. Like, he couldn't even grasp a chance
Yeah, the details of how you would deal with me were very graphic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hand to the throat, dude. Maybe a forearm to the face, into the window.
You said you were going to reach around head.
It's also going to fish hook
me.
you.
I think that was the one that stuck with me the most.
Yeah.
But the reason why scratch you. The reason why I'm reliving all of this, it was a bit traumatic for me. This is exactly how I felt. Like the idea of getting beat up in a phone booth, that's how I felt. The end result after watching this week's episode of The Bad Batch.
Yeah, it beat you up bad, huh? Some people dead?
No, man. I'm on this roller coaster ride with this show, and
you look like you're gonna cry. So
just really man. Just when I feel like I'm really on board with what they're doing, they just do a lot of dumb shit that just makes me want to get off the train there. Go ahead and ask me what they did, Len.
I'm still. I wish you had if it's one of those. I wish you paused better because it makes me really want to get off the train. So
terrible puns.
What happened, dude? What could have happened?
Well, they were going down this amazing storyline of reintroducing different mercenaries, bounty hunters.
Django Fett.
No, Fennec Shank, Cad Bane.
That guy.
They gave us some backstory on Omega. And just when I think, we're about to take this show to the moon, they decide that, nope, we're going to throw a filler episode at you. And the Bad Batch have to go on a rescue mission. And they're going to leave Omega at home to gamble and make money. I like what you did there, buddy.
Super cool, man.
No, it was just one of those episodes where it didn't really play into the storyline. I felt like it was a little bit unnecessary. I'll probably take some heat for that, but the Bad Batch has gone back into a love-hate relationship with me.
You said 16 episodes?
Yeah.
Dude, I think you should cut it a little slack, though.
No, right, dude, I cut it slack before.
I'm saying it's one episode, and they just went on a run of 3 episodes in a row that I feel like all you motherfuckers really like. You know what the problem is with Star Wars fans, Matt? You guys are all fair weather as fuck.
No,
and by
dude.
Fair weather, I mean you're all too diehard and you care too much, and it allows you to jump. It's honestly, if I'm being honest, Matt, it's like being a Mets fan.
Whoa, take it easy, buddy. We're on top right now. We're smashing.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
No, I get.
You guys are on top, but you're still going to complain about everything that your team does.
Well, you've just single-handedly described my entire fandom for any sports team.
Yeah.
Manchester City, New England Patriots, the New York Mets. It's all the same thing. I get it. But my issue is I feel like Disney at this point, Star Wars-wise, is just getting spread a little too thin. I think they have their Star Wars eggs.
The hot dog in a hallway when it comes
so
to
many
Star Wars,
different baskets. And I wasn't going to make a sexual reference, but I'm glad you did. Because I genuinely feel like we're getting gaped, Len.
No, jeez, well, okay. I thought eggs in a basket was a pregnancy joke.
No, man. What I'm saying is...
I don't think we should make a habit also of including gaping into our content. Just we're talking about Disney, man.
Jump into the 4th minute at around 4 minutes 56 seconds. All right, we're right there. Okay, I'll retract my statement. I just watched the teaser trailer for Star Wars Visions, which is another little project that Disney's doing. And what they've done now is they're sending it overseas, Len. They're getting, I love anime. They're getting a bunch of different Japanese studios involved with creating a new look and new storylines for Star Wars. In this teaser trailer, which is about 3 minutes long, there's 8 different storylines. Just give me a little bit of consistency from episode to episode, and maybe let's just chill out. I know you want to come up with a bunch of different stuff for Star Wars. Let's just take it easy, focus on one project, give the people what they want.
But I would just say, isn't it a common theme in comic books though, too, that it's not, you do have different people's takes. Like you had, take Batman for instance, from an animated movie perspective. You had the normal sequence of them with the Dark Knight Returns, Son of Batman, all of those ones within it. But then you got the Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah. You got Batman, the one where it's nighttime in the Renaissance. I don't know, Jack the Ripper.
No, so they've got a couple. They've got a couple of different ones. They just
Batman.
Recently did Samurai Batman.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
So I'm just saying, isn't that kind of a common theme that you do get multiple hands on these projects.
Take it. Why'd you do that hand gesture with that?
Nobody can see down there.
No, I know. That's why it was a little bit weird, and now nobody knows what you actually did, so it's even better.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Baby.
You keep saying I'm being too hard on the Bad Batch. We still have, I think, 6 more episodes to go.
And dude, let me point out, be as hard as you'd like to be on the Bad Batch.
I'm rock hard, dude.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get flack for it. I'm not a fair weather fan. I'm gonna keep sticking it out, but for me, you have to stop doing what a lot of TV shows are known to do, and it's when you're on a subject or a topic, stay on that subject and topic. Don't draw me away. Don't bring me to another world and some stupid rescue mission.
Well, I mean, again,
Matt,
like this is us growing up, and now like what is it's the same thing we've talked about with like Netflix. Like we're in such an immediate gratification like need these days that we can't have.
Nice
there's
things.
A lot of shows I hate.
You can't have nice things. I get what you're saying.
It's like there's a lot of shows I hate that do that. Like I used to get annoyed with even like Arrow, for instance, where it's like we don't need 23 episodes. We need 16. Cut out the extra 8 that you have where you just do weird
you're
little
saying,
side missions.
I get it. You're saying I'm being wishy-washy, and I think nothing would kind of make that more relevant than my relationship with Netflix.
Yeah.
Right?
Perfect.
We watched some trailers.
Yeah, to wrap, you're upset, but we'll be back next week.
Yeah, I said that. I'll be back.
What I'm upset with, Matt, and I'll be back for whenever the movie comes out, is Don't Breathe 2. We talked about this a few weeks ago when I heard that it was even happening.
Yep.
Somehow 2 weeks later, we just get a trailer. And I don't want to spend too much time here because I'm going to rehash many of my feelings that I expressed on there.
That's
now
okay.
I just have like a visual aid to go along with it, right?
Yep.
But that trailer, it's like, watching it today, I didn't hate it, but I hate he's not a good guy, and they're trying.
Why are we trying to make him look like a good guy?
But they're at the same time they're saying he's not a good guy. It's like because basically, from what I gather, that the little girl that like did he get somebody pregnant?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
So yeah, there's Bailey. So she gets pregnant, and I assume that's the little girl. And now somebody finds out that he's the guy still living in the house that like you probably should have moved after.
Yeah.
Whatever happened before. Maybe he did move and this is a different property now. I don't know.
But that's the thing, right? Is everybody's like, or the bad guys in this instance are like, we know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And
they take the kid and like...
It's a bad look at it. It almost feels like Taken in a way where it's like, okay.
It's like a twisted taste. Like
it's very dark. But similar to what we were talking about before, it's like, how could you have made this a prequel? And how is it that you're trying to make me like this guy?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't follow the story.
I think weirdly, I mean, you hate him because of what he's done in the first movie, but
I'm going to watch it.
Up until the point in the first movie, you still are, I don't know if you're rooting for him, because I don't think that the people who are criminals, aside from the one who dies initially, the girl and the guy at the end, in there, Dylan something, and I don't know the girl's name.
Dylan Harper.
No. Nope. Where?
Just throwing it out there.
Man, this is the horniest episode yet, dude. We keep one-upping ourselves. So...
I didn't know where I knew that name from.
Yeah, you know, you do now. She couldn't breathe a time or two, I'm sure. Mouth was full. So he was kind of like... They were both... like they're not heroes. Neither one of them are heroes or villains, I feel like, in that last movie. And then you find out that he's just the nastiest fucking guy in the world. And he is a villain. This movie, again, it's like, is he protecting a girl that he artificially inseminated? It's like, are we supposed... I just don't know, man. It's so fucking weird.
Man. It is weird. It's a weird story. It is a movie. I think we both looked at each other and we're like, all right, are we going to watch this?
Yeah,
we're probably gonna watch it.
I don't know if it could get any weirder than the first one, so
yeah,
we're gonna check it out.
Good luck with this, but the good thing is that
I'll watch anything.
This certainly wasn't by any means the worst movie of the bunch as far as trailers that we watched today.
That's a toss up.
Really?
The other one we watched, it has some certain charm to it, man.
Oh,
I don't know.
I knew this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
All right. We're talking about Blood Red Sky.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what Blood Red Sky is, it is a new movie that stars... I don't know what the woman's name is, but it's got Dominic Purcell in the movie.
Of Prison Break fame.
From Prison Break. And
also Legends of Tomorrow.
Do you think he's more known for DC's Legends of Tomorrow, or do you think he's more known for Prison Break?
Currently, he had a long run on that show, man.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there's a good chance of it. Like, it's funny, I don't know if a ton of people currently would tell you they've seen Prison Break.
That's actually probably true because
I mean,
that show was
fantastic.
popping a couple of years ago. But
yeah, it's fantastic. You should have, but the reality is they brought it back for a reboot and nobody really watched it.
Nope. Well, I think that's one of those things where I think we're over reboots.
No, I think that works, but it works as like Netflix. Netflix is a good place for reboots because you just can't expect people like Fox can't expect people to show up week after week. Like I'm not showing up every Sunday to watch your show
for a
right?
for a 15-year-old,
especially when I know inevitably if I wait the 6 months, it's going to end up on
Netflix,
some type of streaming
Hulu,
service, and I could just watch it on there. Right?
Shout out to Hulu for just getting the episodes as quickly as they do.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things where I'd like to let those pile up and maybe just watch them in one big shot.
So yeah, I think most reboots, unless it's an original idea, and like really the only company that I know or TV network that I know that's really doing good original ideas that they're drawing viewership every week is HBO is still managing, and I still think a lot of theirs is through streaming as well. But like HBO is one of the few networks that I still think is thriving from a TV standpoint.
Yeah, I think they nail it on both the storyline front and just the visual look of it.
Yeah. We're getting way off.
Yeah, we are.
So yeah, Dominic Purcell, and like we looked up the names of people, but like none of these other people.
Nothing was coming
because
up.
I'm pretty sure they're all foreign. No, I mean it's a French movie.
Yeah, I think that's something we probably should have stated in the beginning. That's why I said hands down this movie was on the I'm definitely not going to watch list.
I mean that's a prejudice that you have against the French.
Against the French?
Yeah.
Of their movies.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Dude, I love French fries. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Croissants, dude. Love croissants. Croissants. I like French bread.
You just appropriated them, so this is still a fucked up sentence.
I like mayonnaise.
They have that on their French fries? Are they the ones who do that?
I don't know if that's a French thing. I just assumed like maybe it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we're going way off topic.
This is a subbed movie. It's got some French subtitles. Well, we get English subtitles. Although I love that when Dominic Purcell showed up and started speaking English, they got rid of subtitles because it couldn't be the other way around. That like. I mean, they should have switched to French subtitles.
Listen,
right?
this movie's for Americans. You can tell that because it's a vampire on a plane.
But it's for Americans, but it's all in French.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's so... dude, I don't know why you hated it so much because I think it's absolutely hilarious. I don't think it's going to be a good movie, but you were jazzed up about Dynasty Warriors a week ago.
Let's not bring that up.
All right, we're not going to talk about it. You thought I was going to let it slip? Dude, you saw it.
I was going to put that in our, closing topics.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
But either way, like we're watching this trailer and we're like jacked up last week about the other one. I'm just saying that this movie is a mother who's trying to get to this is what makes little to no sense. Trying to get to America because she's sick, right?
Yeah.
And she's with her wee little son.
That's why I think this movie's American, but they're just coming from France.
Dominic Purcell shows up and he's like, don't make any moves and I'll take like what we want and we'll be out of here.
Nobody gets hurt.
And of course, the little boy causes a ruckus, runs away.
And everybody gets hurt.
And the mom gets shot. And Matt, can I tell you before we get to what happens, what I thought was going to happen?
What do you think?
I was like, dude, are we gonna get like a Home Alone scenario here, where like this kid's crawling through the vents of the airplane and he's got to like stop the? It could be a better movie.
It would need a different title.
Because instead we get like a shot of her in like probably the luggage hold, I'd assume.
Yeah, where they give you the snacks.
That's not. I don't. Oh, you're talking about the back.
No, I'm
area.
saying it's where the stewardess area is.
Okay, so she's back there then, and you get like her thoughts, and it's like. I knew I had to do like what
I knew I was gonna become this.
Yeah, like what I couldn't become. So I did this, and then all of a sudden she's like drinking blood, and she's just like a full on 30 Days of Night vampire.
Yeah, dude.
Like she's a direct ripoff of 30 Days of Night.
100%.
Whoa, what if it's 30 in the universe?
No, don't give them the satisfaction of making them think that they did a good thing with this movie.
Sure, dude. It feels like it might be.
Blood Red Sky. I don't want to spend any more time than we need to on it. Honestly,
but it's
man.
It was funny.
It was a funny.
It was genuinely funny.
It's 2 minutes of my life I'm never gonna get
If
back.
you haven't seen it, I plead with you, just give it a shot.
Just watch it. Let us know what you think.
Because I last week said we couldn't watch the trailer because it looked terrible, and it maybe still does.
It very much. It vindicated our thought process on thinking it was terrible.
I think you're being a little harsh.
No, man, it's awful.
All right.
I said what I said.
Which movie do we want? So let's move into like the movies that we saw this past weekend. Do you want me to start Forever Purge first?
Yeah, if we could, let's start with the Forever Purge because that's more so your recap. Okay. Telling me how it went.
This will be quick, no spoilers really.
Yeah, and then we'll jump into the Tomorrow War.
It was not great. It's probably if just to get my scoring out of the way right off the bat, and I can give my reason after that. It's very chips. It's something that like if you're a fan of Purge movies, you'll throw it on. You'll see some okay kills. There's gonna be. I'll get into my positives of it, but like yeah, it's just gonna be very like standard paint by numbers Purge movie.
Okay.
So chips is like the easiest rating ever for this.
I like that.
However, the problem I have is that there's seeds of good ideas and there's missed opportunity to me.
Yeah, okay.
I had joked a lot before this came out that I think that like this is a franchise that should turn it to 100. Right?
Yeah, just go balls to the wall.
Go Fast and the Furious. Go like find a way. Like you kind of did it because you took this movie from the first one. I don't want to rehash things I've already said, but like you take a movie that's very localized in one house, and then you branch and give me this whole universe around it because you're starting to show me the cities and how they are on the Nights of the Purge. And there was some Frank Grillo was a good action, like a good star for it. I thought he did a good job. He probably didn't want to come back.
No,
that's why I imagine
he's in a million other things right now.
But I like what you've kind of done. So then I'm like, you can keep going with that idea. There's so many parts of the world that you can use this in, and you can give me so many different, unique ideas. And so this movie takes place in Texas.
And you can always change the rules of the Purge, right?
Yeah.
Like there's always different things that you can do, and that's what this is.
Does.
Yeah.
So this movie takes place in Texas. You're following a family that's recently immigrated across the border from Mexico. They're working for Lucas. I forget his real name. In real life, his name in real life is Lucas.
Smart?
No. Fuck, I'm not going to remember it. So either way, I want to say Black, but I don't think I'm right. I would just look up the movie, and you're already in IMDb. This is where we take the hardest routes to get to things. So it takes place in Mexico, or in the U.S., but on the border from El Paso into Mexico. All this shit starts happening. The Purge happens. They lock down for the night. They stay in like a school with like professional guards. Josh Lucas is his name. Okay. So
oh shit, Will Patton's in this movie?
Yeah, he is. So they're a family. Like
okay.
So Josh Lucas is the son of Will Patton. And they have like a ranch, and they have these Mexican workers that work for him that Josh Lucas is kind of a racist dick too at the beginning. Will Patton's a really good guy.
Okay.
The Purge comes around, and once the Purge ends, as you've seen in the trailer, it just doesn't end. Like people decide they want to have a purge that lasts forever. They just want to keep going. And they want anarchy, and they're going to take over the U.S. So this shit starts popping up all over the United States. There's militarized people going around in like tanks and like big trucks, taking shit out. And these guys have to make it from their ranch to the coolest premise of this movie. And not a huge spoiler, but it gets so bad to the point where Canada and Mexico have to say, we're opening the borders temporarily for the next 6 hours. No,
for people to cross over.
Yeah, it's like if you want refuge,
amnesty basically.
You can't have weapons, but you can come now, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a really funny paradox because in this world, it's a gross world, and it's kind of one of the things I hate about it is like it amps up the most disgusting parts of the United States. And with the Trump era, not to be political, but I think they use that as an opportunity to like mold the world around the worst aspects of what people were doing
time.
Then, right? So there's a lot of like subtle racism in this. It's directed towards Spanish and Mexican people, right? It's a lot of like just standard bullshit that you're going to get with it that I would almost rather just see kind of go. But because of this, they've built walls. Like the wall's been established, what they wanted to play for the borders. But they open that up. It gets so bad that they close it again, and they're still trying to get across, so they have to get smuggled across, basically.
Okay.
But I thought that was one of the cooler things to take this idea of like flip it on its head. Like we're always talking about keeping people out, and we have too many foreign immigrants coming in, and it was like we spent 8 years talking about that.
Yeah.
And they take that concept and flip it on the head, and it's like, well, what if we needed them? What if we weren't the high horse?
Do you remember when they did that in the Day After Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Where like everybody had to try and cross the Mexican border, but it wasn't like, oh, we're open. They were like, no, we're shutting this shit down. So it's really interesting to see that kind of flip, and they give you like the amnesty, the ability of amnesty.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. But that's aside from that, it was like not a ton of great action. There's a plot line that if we ever do spoilers on it, I'd love to get into that. Like doesn't really make a ton of sense. And it almost feels like there's not enough action. Like for the climax comes very quickly.
Yeah, with a name like the Forever Purge, you're expecting it to be something that's like...
I'm the same person, though, who criticizes everything for being too, for not knowing its length. But I guess I don't think that they used enough. I'm a length guy.
Yeah, I know. Not a girth guy.
So I don't think they did enough with an hour and 43-minute runtime.
Okay.
But so Chips is where I'll rank it. I'll leave it there. We can move on.
No, I get that, man. So we'll move over to Amazon's The Tomorrow War, starring Chris Pratt. I know that this was a movie that when we did the trailer for it, you and I had both kind of looked at it with a lot of questions, trying to figure out how this movie would go. You know, it's people jumping into the future to fight a war against an unknown enemy. What did you think going into the movie, and then how did you feel coming out of it?
Let's try to do a couple minutes maybe here, not spoiling it, and then we'll get into our full spoiler bit, because I assume most people have Amazon Prime at this point in the world, so and it's the most watched movie of the weekend.
It
dominated streaming numbers for the weekend, which it has to with the amount of money, because that's the first thing that obviously stands out. You could see it in the trailer, and you 100% see it when you go see the movie. The budget is there. It's like a $200 million budget. It was originally, this movie was supposed to go to movie theaters, and it looks that way.
Yeah.
Especially one of the biggest things that stood out to me as a strength, the alien design.
Man.
Yeah.
Incredible. I will use the word incredible.
The males are impressive, but I think the female, the way they're able to use the different parts of the body and how none of it looks campy or anything. Because I'll tell you, the first note, I haven't looked at my notes that I wrote while I was looking at the movie, but the first thing I wrote in it, the very first scene, Matt, I literally wrote a note that's well, that's CGI. Because the first scene is him standing in front of a background with smoke behind him and everything, and it's he looks like he's painted onto it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I saw that, I was if this is gonna look
that scene was part of the trailer too.
Yeah, if it's gonna look fake this, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it. And I'm pleasantly surprised, because from that point on, I think everything looks great.
Really good. One of the biggest strengths was the overall look of the movie. The other strength to me was, and we're not going to jump into spoilers obviously yet, but the storyline, to me, they nailed it. I thought this was an interesting take on how to play out this kind of movie.
Yeah.
And from start to middle to finish, there was never a point where I was like, that probably doesn't make any sense.
I definitely agree, man. You took two different storylines basically and melded them into one, but did it in a way that I wasn't upset about. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is, I came away from this very positive on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Shockingly positive on it. And even I feel like I'm even more vindicated. I don't know if you do too, Matt, on the way the response has been critically.
Yeah, so I didn't actually notice that until I came in here and I read that.
Yeah.
I know that you're usually on top of the box office notes, but when I had seen how well it had done, I was like, oh, this isn't one of those instances where I'm overthinking it.
No.
Where I'm kind of thinking it up or talking
but
it up.
But it is one of those things where I feel general consensus wise, most people that I've talked to have really enjoyed this. I've only had one person to tell me they really didn't like it too much. And by the time we were done talking, they were like, maybe I have to rewatch it.
Yeah.
But I have seen critically, if we look at the Rotten Tomato score, it's probably not good.
Didn't even look at it yet, but yeah. I mean, let me pull it up and give us some
spoilers. So yeah, before let's get into spoilers here, but I'll just I'll say for my rating, just before we get into spoilers, as far as if anybody hasn't seen it yet, before we heavily ruin the movie, I 100% recommend going to see it. I would give this cake. I wanted to ask on our scoring system if I'm allowed to utilize pie as cake.
Yeah, that's. To me, pie is up there with cake.
So chocolate pudding pie, that's what this is.
Yeah, okay. I'm 100% with that. Bring that to the party.
Yeah,
I am all about it.
So this is a surprisingly good movie, especially for me, a surprisingly good movie for streaming.
So this gets a 54% on their tomato meter. And then it's an 82% audience score,
which is my kind of the feeling I've gotten.
Because
and it's actually, I don't have a real issue, because I totally understand and agree with me or disagree if you do that. From a critical standpoint, there's plenty to probably not like about this movie. If your job is to sit there and pick apart flaws in movies and like plot holes,
to be a real dick critic.
Yes. No, those are OnlyFans.
No, yeah, I guess hyphen dick critic. Sorry, even when you say it like that, it sounds the same.
So
if you're a critic who's a dick,
like if I watched, I grew up. I don't know if you did this, man. Like,
I grew up.
I grew up watching on Saturday mornings Ebert and Roper.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would watch that on Saturday mornings. It was like 10 a.m. and it would be like 30 minutes to an hour. And I was always really big on seeing movies. Obviously, like I've told you, like I would see 3 movies in a day.
Yep.
So a lot of the times, like they'd be talking about like I might have already seen the movie and now I'm watching the review. And like they were more that type of person. Like they were there to give like the movies that are going to win Oscars are going to get really high scores. But a movie like this that is again like what I would call a popcorn movie, a ton of. There's a plot line there, and I think there's some interesting things to think about. But at the same time, if you overthink it, it's not going to make any fucking sense.
No, and that's why I say, like, to see it get the reviews that it did, it does kind of make you feel good, just feeling the way that you did coming away from the movie. Because, like I had told you before, I got into an instance where I started watching it and fell asleep. And for those first 15 to 20 minutes, it is like okay, where's this movie going to go? Mm-hmm. But then when it does take off and you look at the time and you're like, man, this movie's 2 hours, a little over 2 hours.
2018.
Yeah. What are they going to do with this? And to come away with it and really think to myself, man, I enjoyed this movie. This is a movie that I can tell people about. And it is something that I would want to watch over and over. To me, it definitely falls on the cake scale.
It's funny. I think that's got to be the biggest admission of success for these guys is that like I watched a 2 hour and 18-minute movie straight through. Mind you, it was at 11 o'clock at night that I started this. Like that's normally prime time. I start movies at 11 and at midnight I switch to like a TV show that I can fall asleep to and I come back to the movie. Yeah. This I was sitting there, I was like, dude, this is good. I want to see where this is going. All right. So
I think it's only right that right now we give us a countdown. So we go 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. The Tomorrow War, Len.
The biggest thing that drove this, and this isn't even a spoiler yet, but this is the cast I think is just awesome down the line, man. Yvonne Strahovski from Chuck. I was already a big fan of her coming through, but I don't see her coming in. I don't see her do a ton of movies, but I'm like super happy to see her in this. She did great.
She nailed this part. Like the relationship between her and Chris Pratt, and I don't know, obviously because I don't read enough. Chris Pratt to me, man, his skill set as an actor, it's pretty crazy that he was able to play this role, and it's nothing that he's going to win an Oscar for, but his emotional level for this movie, to see the attachment that he had to Vicky Winslow was crazy. Like
playing it on both ends. Yeah. Like I'm sure you felt it seeing him with the little girl.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, dude, there was a scene there where he sees her after he comes back, and dude, I was like, oh no, I'm losing it now.
Yeah.
Because it's just that deep, and he portrays it so well.
Betty Gilpin was fantastic. J.K. Simmons.
I called her Vicky Winslow. I meant Yvonne Strahovski.
But like her character name was that. So J.K. Simmons, he's another one where I'm like, he's not in it a ton, but he's great in the time that he's in there.
Oh yeah.
The characters themselves killed it. Like moving into the movie. So the beginning. You find out that it's a quick thing, and this is we'll get into because I do have something I don't like, but we'll save that to the back end, okay? But this beginning introduces where a plot line that I leads to what I don't like. He gets a phone call about not getting a job, correct?
Yep.
And he comes back to a party, which I think you probably agree is weird. Like he's at a party for a soccer game, like in America.
Not necessarily. So they hinted at that it was the World Cup, right? Which I thought was interesting that they did that because there are families that get together for the World Cup. If the USA is in it, dude, I can't tell you how many fair weather fans I've seen that'll throw house parties because the World Cup is on. So it's not that outrageous.
Were they real players?
No.
Okay, none of them were
not
real
even
players.
close.
I didn't know if like
I was surprised that they even used like the real like jerseys and all that. Well, all of it was actually official. Don't you think
because when we watched like Dark Knight, the Dark Knight Dark Knight.
Dark Knight Rises.
Rise is the third one. Returns happens with Bane. Oh, you're right.
No,
Third
Dark
one.
Knight Rises.
Yeah, third one.
Where
Right.
they
Rises.
bombard the football game.
Like they do that on Heinz Field, right?
Yeah.
It's Gotham, whatever, but it's like
it's the Pittsburgh Steelers
are
essentially.
playing, right? So that's where I thought it's interesting you wouldn't get real players because you'd want that fame. I feel like.
It was interesting to see that, but you're right, man. Like he's at a he's kind of walking into a party, and it's like there's almost like a weird dynamic with his family. Right, like it almost seems like he doesn't.
He's just kind of. I don't know. I didn't get that feeling genuinely. Like I just
Really?
got that like he was down on himself. Right. I do understand. Like he just missed out on a job. Right.
Yeah.
And and I guess you come through the movie, you find out he was in the military. He's now like a science teacher, or trying to be a science teacher. Right. And he ends up, but within that 5 minutes, all of a sudden the aliens are there. Right. Yep. And then you flash forward immediately a year into
what's
the
been
Tomorrow
going on.
War.
Yep,
right.
The Tomorrow War.
So, but he's been a teacher during this time period.
Yeah, so I think what it was is that he's like a high school teacher, and like he was trying to get a job at like a college.
Okay.
Right, so it's like he has this vision of himself being better. Right, he has a really huge look on himself. And what did you think of the fact that like everything is based on a draft? Like they literally they go into a draft where it's based on. Was it health qualifications? Like, there's a lot of things that are that escape me a little bit as far as the details.
Well, the initial reason for the draft, I don't even remember. I love what they did with how they chose who was being drafted.
Yeah, so I like
these
that.
are the decisions that I think really win this movie for me. Is like, yeah, the draft stuff's interesting, even though like the thing they have to put on their arm, like the little token or whatever that like brings them to and from, that calls them for their transference of time. So. I loved the device that they used there. The draft itself, as you get these scientists lumped together, you got the really nervous guy that I can't remember his name in the movie with Chris Pratt there. They're able to come to find out that I think the reason why we're getting sent to the future is because we're already dead there.
Sam Richardson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think coming off of like Endgame and like all this timeline talk that we have gotten in the past couple of years, it's been such a major focus that we're literally watching Loki right now, right, with timelines and all of it. And I thought it was just really cool that you could have done some very lazy stuff there, right?
Yeah.
But instead they're like, okay,
it's extremely thought out.
Because you're dead, if we send you to the future, it won't affect like the alteration of time.
Yep.
It won't cause those weird branches because you're taking the place of the person who died, basically.
And it's a very intricate system, right? Like you get your
this 30 years.
You're deployed for 7 days.
Yep.
And
30 years into the future is
it's
what it
30
is,
years
right?
into the future, but they base it on when you die.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another interesting detail where like they were like, oh, based on the fact that you die in this timeline or at this time, it doesn't affect how the time flows in the future.
Yeah.
So the fact that they kind of gave themselves their own device for how the system works for them to go to and from, I think that also allows them any type of leeway for things like explaining what's going to happen. Because if you've watched like Dragon Ball Z or you watch any other like time travel movies, there's always a discrepancy on whether or not the future is actually affected or if it's the present that is the only thing that changes.
Yeah.
Right. So what did you think of like the system of sending them to and back?
Well, so that's been one of the bigger pieces of contention that I've gotten to talking to other people about this that I can understand is like, and it's what we questioned in the trailer, right? Where I still almost thought they were going to do it, like where it's almost like gamer idea, where like it's like their subconscious is what's actually being transported. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not, obviously. That's not what happens. And like I guess it's explained a little bit, or how I was able to like explain it to somebody else was they were sent in those clothes because they weren't expecting to get sent. They were supposed to train for another week before they got sent to the future, right? An emergency happens, they all get the alert, and it's like, well, I guess I'm going now.
Huh.
Isn't that how it happens in the movie, I'm pretty sure?
No, I don't think so. I think they get prepped.
They have 1 day of prep.
1 day of prep.
But then all of a sudden, I'm pretty sure an alarm goes off, and they get called early to go.
Interesting.
I'm almost positive that's
well, I'm not saying that you're wrong. You might be right there, because it would actually make sense, because as soon as they get thrust into the Tomorrow War, they're sent immediately onto like a rescue mission.
Mm-hmm.
They also break down the two divisions. Like there's the research division.
Exactly. That's what you're right. That is what happens, because he gets sent because those they need to try and save the last of
the
those
researchers.
people.
Yep.
So there's like this thing that's going to potentially stop them from being able to jump and all the research.
Yep.
So they send the people in early to do it, I'm pretty sure.
I feel like you're right there, because the only real information that they have going into it is that the researchers are in this building.
Yeah.
Right? And then they're already thrown into having to go to that building. And then, I mean, it doesn't take long to where they're in that building. They find out that the researchers are dead. And then they're being chased by what we come to find out are known as the White Spikes.
Yeah. These thug-ass aliens who
dude,
can launch shit.
we talked about it earlier with the alien design. Just from the scene that pops into my head immediately is when they're looking for the queen. And I'm jumping ahead, I know. They're looking for the queen, and all of these things jump into the air, and they're able to fly like a wingsuit.
Mm.
There was just so many different dimensions to these things. They were pretty fucking sick.
Well, they're like crazy fast.
I mean, they have 4 arms technically.
It's
6 arms.
It's funny, they're crazy fast, but at the same time, like they're running through the city with endless bullets, like, which is like an obvious trope of sci-fi and like action movies. But yeah, endless bullets just running through the city. And these things aren't fast enough to like overwhelm them, but there's like hundreds of them coming after them. And you get that like trademark leading man. No person gets left behind. We've got to try and save everybody. Gail the Snail shows up, and we've seen her now in our most recent episode of 321 Spoiler. She was in Kings of Summer.
Yep.
We've got her again in this, and she was great, as well as Mike Mitchell Cohen.
Yeah,
we're both very good together.
Well, it was just they had that last stand scene, right? So it's like, what did you think of him getting dropped in and automatically kind of assuming this leader role when there had already been people there that had
but they all died. Like, so you're talking about the guy, but that other guy didn't want to. None of them.
Yeah,
they wanted to. He
wasn't about saving people.
Their whole point in the beginning was like, let them all die.
Yeah. Yep.
Who cares? We just we'll let the people who are real, like soldiers, thugs, like go out there and get this done.
Let them get eaten. He was like, you said we're gonna get eaten?
Chris Pratt obviously steps into that role very, very well.
Yeah, he goes full Star-Lord on them.
So what's the next big plot thing that we have happen here? So we go from they finally get dropped into the world, they get sent there, and then that's basically where you find out what we didn't really know from the trailer is the relation between Mary. Well, who he finds out Miri in the future is.
Yeah, so that's where that initial scene where they're escaping the rescue mission, there's a giant explosion. Yeah. Right? The city gets bombed, and they wake up and they're at like this base. And it's like the forward base of operations. That's where he meets who we come to find out is his daughter.
I felt most of that. Like, I liked like you said, their relationship, I think, stands out as one that, like, you see the slow walls, because like you get it, man. Like, if you had a limited amount of time, and like I literally wrote like daddy issues. I get that, like in my notes.
Preaching to the choir,
because it's like, if you gave anybody, if you wanted to like spend your like if you had 7 days to spend with somebody that you had like a billion things that you need to get off your chest, but you wanted to like both enjoy your time with the person, but you also need to be like honest about stuff. And I felt like they did a pretty good job in the allotted time. And I even think that if you got like a director's cut of this and you were able to flesh out some of it more, it could even be better. The idea of like, I'm so happy to see you, but at the same time I have a job and I need to be like like kept back. But at the same time, fuck you, because you did this bullshit when I was younger.
There's so much again, the Onion reference. There's so many underlying things happening with this movie where you almost wonder. Okay, there's question marks around. Like, he wanted to know how he died, and we wouldn't get that information.
Mm-hmm. Would you want to know how you died?
No.
Oh.
No. Because you're going to try avoiding that situation so much that it ends up leading you into that situation.
Possibly, yeah.
Right? We've seen it in all the movies, and Hollywood doesn't lie. But then you see that, like, she's clearly holding on to something that she doesn't want to share with him. And the line where she goes, I didn't bring you here to see my father. I brought you here to get the job done.
Yeah, like, I have a job to do. Like, you're a tool to me, basically.
Man, it really just goes to play to her strength for the rest of the movie, because she did end up being this badass person that was able to ultimately find
she gets the
solution.
Best of both worlds, really, because she's able to establish the relationship and knock down those like personal walls, get closure with a person who clearly like she didn't have any with, and it led to her being who she was. But that basically gets us to where we come back from. So we have all this stuff happen there. They're searching for a cure. They're running through a million different algorithms.
They finally
find the cure.
Stuff.
Though the part where they're getting the queen, that action sequence is awesome. The fact that it's able to like throw punches basically with its tentacles,
Dude,
I think is awesome.
Those tentacles are insane because they shoot thorns or like spikes out of them.
Bro, like they're slipping punches at points.
Bro, it's a perfect like machine or monster, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the perfect antagonist. And the scene where they jump off the hill and they're like flying. The scene where the helicopter pilot
turns in.
Oh,
that shit's cool.
Oh man, I was like, oh my. Again, hands down, one of the best scenes.
Well, I love that one's smart enough to do that, but then you get the other one who has like 6 of them on it, and it's like
flying, swirling back and forth. Man, I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah,
throughout that entire scene,
the whole capture of the queen was pretty awesome. Yeah,
again, this movie did everything. Like there was a lot of things. I do have my negatives, and we'll get to that at the end. But there were so many parts where I was like, man, this is done very well.
Yeah, so we get to now. It leads to we have the queen. She calls out and gets a million of them. That scene was awesome too. Like the scene of them coming over the walls, and you're like, oh, they're like, you get a real sense of urgency and like, bro, where they're fucked.
Can I tell you how stupid I am? You could tell me how stupid I am.
I was gonna let you have this moment,
bro. When they're going to the base in the Bahamas, I'm like, man, that's a snazzy looking base right there, man. Those things aren't getting anywhere near that. They can't swim.
Did they like run across the water? Like I don't know,
bro. It's that their body is so perfectly made. They can glide, they can swim, they can fall, they can do everything and still be this menace, which led to like me wondering when that scene that we had talked about that we freeze framed of like the crabs in a barrel.
It's a Renaissance painting basically.
Dude,
too when you look
it is
at it. It's kind of nuts
insane to see them going over the walls and the response of like, oh, we just got to shoot the hell out of these things.
So one of the things I wish he's unable to save her. Right. And she falls, she sacrifices herself basically, and he jumps, and you have to be in the air to time travel, right? And you fall through time or whatever it is. I really liked, or I thought they should have fleshed out more of this, and maybe in a director's cut. It's funny, like I'm the person who says shorter movies.
You wanted more.
But like 2 hours and 18 minutes, I feel like this was another thing that they glossed over really quickly. Is like, so she has a job, the wife has a job as a grief counselor for people who have come back from the war. He comes back from the war having seen the last thing he sees is both his daughter dying and his death is impending. He's falling into a pile of these fucking monsters, right? And he just all of a sudden wakes up on the other side, like on the ground, right? I just thought you could have done so much more to flesh out like the way, because like the way he is acting when the wife's trying to like kiss him and like say hi. I felt that too, where I'm like, dude, like, that's nuts. Like she'll, and you get this point where like the daughter kind of softens him up, I guess, when he sees this daughter again, the younger version of her, it softens him up, and it leads to I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit there, but I think it's.
But no, so I'll pick up where you were leaving off because when you say it softens him up a little bit, you're really just kind of expected to understand what he's going through at that point, and I do think that it could have been fleshed out more, but that scene is very powerful. That scene of, because to your point, man, he just experienced all the things that what I would imagine as a father is the worst thing you could possibly imagine is the world ending, your daughter dying, you not being able to save her, and then you actually survive.
But dude, him trying to explain it was so. This is what I was gonna say. Is like him trying to explain it's so funny because like she could have so easily. If it's one of those movies, because you're writing a movie, you can make all the characters line up perfectly, and this would never be able to work in real life, right? There's a reason her job exists. Yeah. Is because like most relationships don't have somebody who he could explain to her, like, I saw the future version of our daughter. She was awesome. She's a colonel.
She's awesome.
I watched her die. I jumped into a pile of like whatever. I have the cure. Like it's like, it sounds like such crazy bullshit that like she could very easily be like,
all right, let's get you some help.
Yeah, honey. like that's what a lot of like, but because she's the perfect profession, she's able to like take it all, digest it, and be like, okay, like you saw our daughter.
Like, dude, it's insane. Because that moment is just, you're looking at it and you're like, this is the worst thing that he could have ever gone through, and he has to pick up the pieces
on the other side
because there's so much
with
work.
No closure on that side.
Nothing,
either, really.
man. Like when he says we have to go back, and they're like, the transport's done. Like there is no going. We can't go forward.
Yeah, you saw the apocalypse. Like,
you saw the end.
Like you're lucky you got out.
To me, it sets it up to where, like, I don't know about you, man, but I was like, that's the end, right? Like, where do we? There's more movie left.
Yeah, I almost wish now, honestly, that you split it into two.
So that was my thought. Was okay, so this is it, right? Because there's so much that has to be done for you to get to the other side, and they picked up the pieces really quickly, right? Like you almost wonder, how is it that, they were able to use the future tech that they had, the people from the future that was still here. They were able to get more of the serum. They were able to find futuristic jet skis or freaking snow skis and all this.
Well, because and it sounds like you agree with me. I think that the third act is probably the weakest of the movie.
Yeah.
I think the whole setup to time traveling is great. The initial, and then the whole bulk of the part where they're in the time traveling part, where they're in the future, is all really solid. There's some really good ideas and stuff that's introduced in character work. But then this third act, it's like some of it feels rushed. J.K. Simmons returns in this third act.
Thank God.
Yeah, he's a big bright spot in it, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, like, that's the biggest question I had. They get turned down by the government. Right, the government's not going to help them with this, which makes no fucking sense, because you're not going to trust the only people you have left who have come back from the future. Yeah. Right, the only ones who actually know what are going on there, and the government's not going to listen to them. That sounds kind of crazy.
But you know what? It's not that crazy, because when Charlie goes on to say, if we get our governments involved, this is going to be a freaking nightmare.
Sure,
it's very true.
But so how does, like, I understand that J.K. Simmons works on planes, right? And but how
you're wondering how he became a brilliant mechanical engineer and then is also a pilot
and has a fleet of
ships or planes,
snowmobiles,
everything.
Like
he's got it all.
That was the toughest part, man. They had think about how much C4 they had.
Do you think they did enough to show you that he was kind of like this black market black ops guy?
So I got the conspiracy theorist vibes. So he's like a guy who doesn't trust the government, but that doesn't necessarily automatically mean you have
how the fuck you turn into
funds.
Batman?
Like if you're that guy, I don't think you have that much money.
I don't know.
Maybe you don't work traditional jobs.
You'd have to be charging a fortune to take those bracelets off. Like that's the only thing I can think of. But he is a breath of fresh air. He does kind of balance out Chris Pratt's know-it-all persona of, I'm gonna save the world, and I'm gonna save my daughter and give her a second chance thing. I thought they played into that way too much.
But it is it's a major premise of what the movie's built on.
I get it. But it's, at this point, put the emphasis on the fact that you're changing the world. You're changing the future. With the other 12 people that are there with you about to die, maybe don't put so much emphasis on that you're doing it for you. Because I think that kind of takes a hit to his character a little bit. And then the whole process of how they distributed the toxin.
Why not just go directly to the Queen?
Can we do a little bit of research? What's the rush? Like what?
Well, because you
didn't think that they were going to scream out or something.
It's not melting immediately, but I think there was so much panic in the world that they felt like they needed to go right to it. But I just don't understand trying it on all the smaller ones rather than just not going.
Like identify the Queen
directly and take it out. That was one part we didn't get into. Is okay, I didn't like conveniently being able to write stuff to make sense. I wrote when the kid popped up at the beginning of the movie with the volcano thing. I was like, well, if this isn't the most red herring foreshadowing bit that I've ever seen, and then it pops up at the end that he can tell because of the ash underneath the nails of the.
I'm certainly sure we could have used Google and gotten all the same information.
But regardless, I do like the idea of
I'm terrible
they're
Google,
already
but...
there. I love we were talking about earlier, global warming. It's just using something that's already existing, so it's easy for us to understand it. It's I'm sure we would have known something landed wherever, but the fact that it did, like Captain America was frozen or whatever.
All the pieces fit perfectly because it's do a global warming check for the next 30 years, and it's they were already here. They defrosted, right? So it's they thought out. And it all... I hate when things are very matter of fact. It almost felt okay to a point, but then it was also you're building all of this plan to work out way too well.
Yeah.
At this point, the fact that you guys had all of this figured out, and then when you finally get there, didn't have it figured out that you should probably nail down the Queen, lock down the area so that these things can't break out, because... It took an army of trucks to take down one at the beginning of the movie. And now all of a sudden they're taking out multiple. Dad's just supposed to be the super sniper who can get 24 shots off in a mile. I don't understand how all this is possible. Yeah. I have a lot of questions. Yeah, there's a lot of questions. Last couple being, so we get this whole part, the Queen ends up getting out. They put some shots into her, and we get this final standoff, father and son against the Queen Bee. Right? Am I wrong? No, you're 100% right, and I hate the way that you just did this, but yeah.
And it's basically like it's a pretty awesome final fight. It's a little ridiculous, and but I found myself laughing through it, which isn't a bad thing. So first and foremost, when he stabs her in the arm with the toxin or whatever, with the antidote, whatever you want to call it,
it's a toxin.
When he stabs in the arm, and the fucking queen stares at him and is like, "Oh, you think that's how I'm gonna go out? Like that's what you've got, motherfucker?" Yeah. Just bites its arm off. And it's just like, all right, let's go. It's almost like it tightens. It's like,
oh, dude, yeah. It tightens the ponytail, takes off his earrings, flicking its nails. I'm about to fuck you up.
It's like ready to fucking go. And it's like, it leads to this like drag out fucking war between these two.
Bro, this is an onslaught of like a fight to the death. Like the knife play from Chris Pratt when he's like, like in 5 different motions, he gets its neck, its legs, its tendons, and I'm like,
but then it just hits him once and like,
and he's gone.
He gets shot does he get shot?
Yeah,
somewhere
so he gets spiked in the leg, and I think his dad takes a spike through the gut.
Side.
Yeah, I think.
So they get hit with those, and it leads to him. He takes off the necklace. And like does what like he puts it in, like
that's the knife freaking thing. He does it with the tooth or the claw.
Yeah. But he starts like throwing hands.
Oh yeah.
And they have a full on boxing match.
Oh
like,
yeah.
He lands an uppercut from hell. Like it's Gervonta Davis uppercut on this fucking.
It's the one that you've been practicing up against that door for the last couple hours.
Yeah. Just fucking labels him, dude.
I tried to hate this fight so much. I just couldn't.
It's fun, man. It's like stupid fun. It's funny.
It kept bringing me back to the ridiculous fight on After Earth between Jaden Smith and that monster.
Never seen it.
Oh, good, because that fight is
ever,
awful.
So,
it is the worst movie ever. But I was like, oh, they just found a way to do a better version of that. Awesome. Like it was weird that they had this Captain America Winter Soldier against Iron Man moment where they're like kick, punch, uppercut, cross, and it's like fully coordinated. It was a great father-son moment.
Classic, dude. Fucking classic.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, so the one thing I wanted to say for bad, like I said, at the beginning they introduced this him being down, right? Upset about not getting the job. And like to me, that's all it established. Like he's upset he doesn't get the job, then we're in the war.
Yep.
It didn't even resonate with me as a story. Of course, we get the part in the middle where she explains why he left.
Yep.
Like that he was shitty, being a shitty dad. He was upset. Their parents broke up. He said he was always going to be there. And then one day he just stopped showing up. I suppose that's supposed to be enough to make that storyline work. But the biggest takeaway I had at the very end, and maybe this shouldn't be I wish this wasn't the last thing I got from the movie. Yeah. Well, that I got from the movie, not so much that it's the last thing I talked about, but what they gave me is like, it didn't feel earned. Like him being like, I'm a better person now. Like I never felt like you were a bad person.
Yeah.
You know, like you didn't. There wasn't enough at the beginning for me to see you becoming that person, and then all of a sudden I'm being told that you are that guy. But the guy you were at the beginning of the movie was so great with your daughter that I can't see you of ever being that person. And I know things change, and like clearly, like divorce rates are 1 billion, and like all this.
No, you're not wrong, but it is very much. It's hard to believe that when he tells her, "I would never leave you guys," I don't have that understanding that he would. Right? Like, it's weird that they give you this father figure who's never in the picture, and you kind of hate when TV shows do that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, this will always give you the notion that this dude could end up being a dick. Right? Like, he could leave his family because it's in his DNA because his dad left, right?
Yeah,
like, it's like,
I guess that's the other way it was supposed to be earned, is that just because his dad was that guy. Which made it even more for me where it wasn't believable.
Yeah.
Was like, I know how I am. I know who you are. I wouldn't have it in me to ever read.
Oh, dude, if anything, it's a push in the other direction, right? Like not having a dad, you're like, I'm gonna be the best dad possible.
And that's what he was telling you the whole movie. Like, I don't respect this fucking man at all. He wouldn't even do any
bro, don't send my fucking daughter Christmas cards, you piece of shit.
So it just didn't feel earned when that was supposed to be like the last takeaway I got from this movie was this closure that they were giving me on a storyline that I never really took seriously to begin with. And that's the one real big negative I could tell you from this movie is that's one storyline, and maybe it's a personal attachment to it that just didn't really work for me, but everything else was great.
No, I can agree with that, and I think the big thing that didn't stand with me was, again, you did a great job building the foundation of this movie. That we get to a point where it almost seems like, oh, you have to end it here, right? And then you give us more backstory, and it's very rushed. The part that doesn't really do it for me is the like how it ends. to me, how it ends is it doesn't do the rest of the movie justice. You'd have this epic fight scene. You know, so many people are sacrificed to make this happen, where I feel like if it's planned, if it's done correctly, this could have been a completely different story, right? Where I'm just supposed to think that this guy who's ex-military, he's a science teacher now, he's able to put together the resources and the people and just make all of this work. To me, it cheapens what you've done so much with the film.
Yeah.
And that's where I stand with it, where I'm like, you know, while I can understand it, I rate it very well. I'm going to tell people about this movie. I'm almost spoiled to the fact where I feel like maybe we deserved a little bit more from the ending.
So last question, and we'll get into just closing it out here, what we're going to watch coming up this week. Do you think there'll be a sequel?
It'd be difficult to do it.
I think so too, but a lot of people seem pretty confident that we'll get a sequel. I mean, it's not that difficult. You just tell me one of them got away. Like, that's all you're going to have to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, how do they reproduce? You need the queen, right? To reproduce?
In order for the rest of this movie to make sense, that's the only thing that I could understand, right? Like, it wouldn't make sense if a male could asexually produce and, you know, he gets away and he mates with, like, a bear. I don't know. None of that seems real.
So, yeah, no, wouldn't make sense, but they could definitely do it. And with how many people watched it, I'm sure we'll get a sequel.
I would ask you that, is it a concern that because it's done so well that it would almost ask for a sequel?
Well, that's what I was just saying.
Yeah,
like that so many people watched it that we'll probably get one. Yeah.
I was trying to get that question out before you finished that. Whatever.
So, what do we got going on this upcoming week, Matt?
Well, we don't do sports on these episodes, but we've got the semifinals and finals of the Euros going on.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be balls deep in that. But then we were taking a look at what's being released this week, and it looks like Resident Evil Infinite Darkness is being released to Netflix. So their new animated series. Certainly something that I think you'll be interested in, so I took an interest.
Are we going to be talking about this maybe next week?
I'm definitely okay with it if you wanted to.
I probably will be finishing the whole thing before our next episode, I think.
I can do that. That's doable.
We'll expect to hear a little bit about that next week. So Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, it's a new addition to the animated series of Resident Evil, which is generally far superior to that of the film franchise.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be going on. A couple other things. So tonight, we won't have this out tonight. But
tonight for us, a couple days ago for you.
Yeah, tonight, Tuesday, 5:00, we've got Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady against
Aaron Rodgers and
Bryson DeChambeau.
Yep.
So that's going on. Let us know how that went. And
we could probably figure it out, but let us know what you thought.
Yeah, spoil it for us. And then lastly, from what I can think of, most obviously, we have Black Widow.
Yes, that's coming out July 9th.
So you'll be watching it on Disney.
Yeah, I'll be jumping on the Premiere Access train.
Okay, and I'll be seeing it at 8:20 on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll be coming back with the hotness from recapping those. But full disclosure, I could certainly understand after my enthusiastic recommendation of watching Dynasty Warriors last week.
Yeah,
I can understand if you're a little bit skeptical, but I'm pretty sure we can understand. We both are under the impression that these are going to be knockouts.
Well, I'm going in high expectations. Most excited I've been for a movie would be Black Widow of all the stuff that's been coming out so far. I'm amped up about that. With that being said, also as far as anticipation,
neither one of us can talk today.
I am pumped. Matt is pumped. Keep an eye out. We'll have a video out. We've got the return of one Conor McGregor. There's only one Conor McGregor.
It's happening.
The trilogy fight will be completed this weekend. Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor 3. Keep an eye out for that video for sure. Let us know who you're picking. You can find us and let us know at Good Taste Live on Twitter.
At For Those With Good Taste on Instagram. And then they can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezers, D's Nuts. You see what I did? I took it from you.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, they can catch us anywhere, and we'll be right back in here next time.
Yeah, well, you'll probably see us again this week. Like I said, we'll have a video for the Conor McGregor stuff. Otherwise, whenever
you catch us. We're out of here, guys.
But at least catch us. Don't let us fall.
Mahalo.
Shaka, my brother. Love you. Peace.
For those with good taste.